Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Inside. Today we're going to talk about how to pick your first agency management system. Now, this is going to be a construct for how I am making my decision. In full disclosure, at the time of making this video, I have not actually made a decision on an agency management system yet, though I have significantly culled the list. And it's based on these criteria. Really, I'm waiting on one trigger. And that trigger is whether or not I get into the Neon pilot. If Seth and his team decides that that they would like to have me, I will, for all intents and purposes, most likely accept that and want to be part of it. And that would probably break all the rules or all the construct ideas that I've outlined and we're going to talk through in this video. If that doesn't happen, then everything I've discussed here will apply and I will ultimately make a decision based on this construct. So I want to give this to you as just a tool for you to think through an agency management change. Now, there's really two types of people that are probably watching this. You are relatively new agency, considering an agency, or a scratch startup agency like myself. I'll use this one so I don't curse at you. And that's one way to look at this, and I will frame it in that way. The other way is you're an established agency making revenue, and you're looking to make a change. This construct works for both, just in slightly different ways. So this is really just a kind of standard decision-making process, but I want to put it in terms of how to choose an agency management system. So there are all kinds of things to consider. One that I want to put on the table first and foremost, because I think it again is another rule breaker for this construct, is relationships. Sometimes we just have a relationship with an individual or a vendor, or maybe another pocket of agents that use a particular tool, and the advantages of being involved with those individuals outweigh the specific technology itself. That blows up this whole construct, which is completely fine, right? Like there's certain tools that I choose in my life, whether it is involved in the insurance industry or something else, that I do just for relationship-oriented purposes, just for purposes of, I like working with this particular person, or I like other people who use this particular tool, and I want to be able to talk to them about it and learn from them as they use it and that kind of stuff. I'll give you a great example. The alarm system that we have for the home that I'm living in. We use a local independent vendor. They're not, they don't have the enormous call center. If you need to make a payment, you call Sue. And a lot of you watching this are independent local businesses. So you're like, Ryan, that makes complete sense. But that is a decision that I've made because I like Steve Hart. I like his son. I like the guys that come over here. They do a good job. They're clean. They're friendly. They help me with other stuff that I have questions about because I'm not a overtly handy person. And I just enjoy doing business with them. It would be maybe a little less expensive if I just used like Spectrum or Time Warner or whoever, or one of those big services. But I'm okay with that because I want to work with this group of guys. I call them on the phone. Hey, I got a problem. They come over. Boom. That's what it's all about. Okay. So if you were going for convenience, ease of use, width of choices of products, they're not the best option, but there's a relationship there that's been established over the course of 6 years of working with them, that's the vendor I choose. So I completely understand if that's the case with a piece of technology like an agency management system, and that blows up this whole construct. Those things not being the case, here is how I would make and am making my decision in choosing my first agency management system, and that is the first thing you need to do is imagine who you want to be down the road. And that means look out into the future. What does that agency look like? What does your business look like? What do you want? What do you want that business? How do you want that business to operate? And how would an agency management system serve that business purpose, 3, 5, 10 years from now? What does that look like? Do that thought experiment. Write down some notes. Here's who I'd like to be. Okay. For me, it's the idea of agent optimized, which means the humans involved in my business, Rogue Risk, will be injected in points where they can add the most value, where the nature of human interaction is the most valuable to the consumer, not small touch points that really are transactional and that the customer really doesn't want a human to be involved in. Okay, so I need an agency management system that can support that. That's 10 years from now. Okay, that's one consideration. The next consideration is right now. What do you need to do to be successful right now? Because you can't have your business fall apart because you're trying to build some epically large system and you haven't even sold a policy yet. That's something that I think about all the time. I want to give a big shout out to Matt Wood, who is not a member of the Inside, who loves to remind me of that fact, and I appreciate him so much for doing so. He's owner of Metswood they're in Columbia County, not too far from where I'm sitting. So even if you're established, like you don't, if your agency management system is causing fires, if like the house is burning down, then you have to think about what can get you there now. And is there a change that you can make now, which then you can build upon? So you have these two levers. What do you need now to make sure that your business survives and prospers? And where do you want to be in 10 years? And if you're an established business, that kind of way you're gonna give more weight to where do you want to be in 10 years. If you're just starting out, if this is the first agency management system you're ever going to have for your new agency, startup agency, scratch agency, then you're going to weigh what gets me off the ground more. And that's a reality. Like, it would be great to have the perfect system that's going to be with you for 10 years, but you got to sell policies today, and you need that agency management system to not keep you from selling policies. And that's how you're gonna weight that, because it's all that area in between is where we get ourselves in trouble. Trying to match these two things, that delta in between them. There's a lot of trouble spots in there. There's a lot of technology you need to connect, and you just can't get bogged down in that. Like, I tend to be with some of these things a bit of a dreamer, a bit of a planner. Like, I want to see, I can connect this and here and that, and I want things to be easy, and that's just not a reality, right? There are going to be moments where a tool that I thought was going to be the right tool, I'm going to have to take out and plug something else in because it's not serving my clients as best as possible. So don't worry too much about all that mess in the middle. Think about where you want to be and think about what you need to get off the ground today, and then weight them properly and execute a decision. I think a lot of times, and I tell you, I'm already guilty of this, I've been spending way too much time thinking about this problem. And I know that is classic. Anyone who's been in the industry for any amount of time is going, Ryan, haha, welcome to the club, right? Like, that's the way it is. But I can see how you get bogged down in this question. It's a big question. It's a big challenge. And as I find myself getting wrapped up in it, I do these thought experiments to try to pull myself back out and be more rational. And in a much more rational way, I'm saying to myself, there's really just these two levers, and if you weight them properly based on your situation, you can make a good decision, right? The other thing, and this is probably this is an important idea that I think fits with choosing an agency management system that I want to share, and I learned this from Billy Williams. Billy Williams, if you don't know him, just Google Billy Williams in insurance. He runs InspireNation.com, the Fix My Agency program. Like, he's absolutely one of the brightest minds in our industry, and certainly one of our largest assets. And he says activity changes attitude, not the other way around. So when it comes to what your people are going to be doing in your agency management system, how they're going to be doing it, make sure that agency management system allows them to take the activities that are going to drive the type of business that you want your agency to be. That's a kind of a big thought, but it's definitely something that I think comes in the equation, right? So, all right, what does that look like? Well, if you want them to be driving, if you want to be a high volume sales oriented business, right, then you need an agency management system that allows them the lowest amount of activity in the system so that they can be doing all the other tasks to drive sales and marketing. If you want your agency to be more data heavy, if you want them to be more for it to be more rich and robust, maybe work with less clients but understand those clients better, then maybe you want an agency management system that is larger, more enterprise, that's going to capture more data. Maybe you use all the tools that are built into that agency management system. Again, I don't necessarily have the answer to that because my agency, I haven't even sold a policy yet, but I do think that this is a very important question that we need our agency management system to fit the activities that we want, that are going to drive and build, that are going to build and drive the type of business that we want our agency to be. Okay, just an idea to think about. Connect with Billy Williams on that as well. Okay, so ideas to consider once you kind of narrowed your choices down. So based on those two levers, I've narrowed my choices down really to Varuna, which is built on Salesforce, and NowCerts, which is a nice, open, lightweight agency management system that is built was built specifically for more for commercial lines than personal, but has both. So the things that you want to consider once you've started to figure out who you want to be do you need a system that's open, or do you care that it's closed, right? Take a Applied, a Vertafore system. These are more a closed platforms, right? Take some of the smaller ones that don't have really a ton of market share. Some of them are wide open, right? You can plug anything in there. Some of them are very closed off. What you see is what you get. There's a full spectrum. Closed has its advantages in that you just use the tools that are given to you, and it allows your mind to focus, and you don't have to think about plugging other things in. And sometimes the constraints can be advantages. I'm not saying that I agree with that, but I'm saying there's a case to be made there. Open is you're going to be more, you're going to be willing to think about tools, plug different tools in, phone systems, texting, automations, referral systems, whatever needs to be plugged in can be plugged into that agency management system because it's wide open. They're going to allow you to pass data, triggers, transactions back and forth between different systems to hopefully better serve your clients. Neither right nor wrong, but you need to make that decision. Minimal or broad, meaning do you need an agency management system that just does one thing and does one thing really well and doesn't have all the bells and whistles? Or do you need an agency management system that is enterprise level? Okay, I think off the jump, if this is your first agency management system, then you need something clean and easy that hopefully can grow with you over time, but clean and easy and simple. You know, unless you're going to be pulling all-nighters, setting up your agency management system workflows and automations and processes and stuff, which you're going to have to do a little bit of that anyways. You don't want your agency management system to bog you down early on. I mean, that's a piece of advice I've gotten 1,000 times already, and it just logically makes sense. And we just really want to fight the urge to be drawn into the enterprise system. There are certain systems that I won't even consider, but so that kind of cuts some of them out. And just this idea, lightweight, easy to use technology has always been what I've gravitated more. I've built every website I've ever owned on WordPress, even when WordPress was like the unprofessional, the amateurs website. I mean, I built the Murray Group's website on WordPress in 2012, 2011. So I've always gravitated towards this. I think it's the way to go, especially if this is your first agency management system. Okay, who will use it? Another big question. Do you want your producers in there? Is it just going to be your service staff? Are you going to be in there? Accounting team, right? That's a big question. How many people do you have? Are you starting with a team? You starting by yourself? Can you give access to your accountant to come in and help, or your bookkeeper? Like, who's going to use it's a big question. Price is obviously a big question. If you want to keep your cash flow, especially early on, you want your cash flow to make sense. You don't want to be taking on a $500 a month, $400 a month payment for your agency management system. Not when there's systems out there that can get you what you want, which is policy on the books, revenue coming in. Not when you can get that for $50 to $100 a month. There's systems that are $85 a month, $100 a month, $50 a month. Like, you don't need to pay $300, $400, $500 a month for your agency management system. You just don't need to do that. It's early on. If you have 100 employees, well, yeah, you're probably going to need that. Or you might need that. I still don't know that you need that, but you might. You certainly don't need it when you're just starting out. Okay. And then here's the other things. Then you want to kind of now, at this point, you want to start to get into features, right? It's only at this kind of at the end of this decision-making process that you want to start to get into features, right? does it have the actual features that you need? If you're more commercial lines focused, there are agency management systems that are more geared towards commercial lines. There's agency management systems that are more geared towards personal lines. There's some that mesh the two together. There's some that don't do life. There's some that do life and health. You have to figure out the features that make sense. Does it integrate your phone system? Does it connect to accounting? That's a huge part of the decision-making process. How are you going to handle accounting in your agency management system? Now you're getting into the features towards this part because you've narrowed your list down. It's also important. So if it has the features, the price is reasonable, it fits the type of agency you want to be, it also fits the type of agency that you need it to be today, then you get into the last two thoughts that I have. One, is this the type of management system that can be with you forever, or is it just a now system? If it's just, neither one of these is wrong. If it's just a now system, then you want to obviously make your decision with that in mind. It should be less expensive. It should be easy to get out of that agency management system. If this is something you could see yourself, obviously you have no idea, could see yourself being in forever, it's open source, all that kind of stuff, then that's obviously a huge positive, but something that you definitely want to have in the equation. And then the very last kind of trigger that I would think about is who else is using this system. And by that I mean, what other agency owners are using this system? Are they agencies that you respect? Are they owners that you respect and trust? Have you reached out to them? Have you asked them what they think about this agency management system, or maybe one you're considering, or why they chose the one they're on versus this other one that you're considering? Would you want your business to mirror their business or mimic their business in some way, shape, or form? Because if you're looking at an agency owner that you trust and they've built an agency that you would never want to build, then their agency management system, just because they use it, it might not be a good fit. So you have to think through these two aspects. So, this agent over here that you absolutely adore, that you think does a tremendous job, is a personal lines only agency, and you're going heavy commercial lines. Well, it doesn't mean your agency management system won't work, but you need to consider these things. So think through not just who is using it, but consider that. Because if you know 10 other heavy commercial lines agencies that you really respect that are also using this particular agency management system, and you've talked to a few of them, man, now you know you're probably dialed in on the right solution. Something that has a good that's cost effective versus value, that can be with you for a long time, that fits your now versus 10 years from now equation, that has, like I said, a good price, that is going to allow you to leave if you ever do want to leave. That's a big part of this, right? That now versus forever. Like, are you going to be able to leave someday if you want to leave, right? And then if all that mashes together, you should have one or two options to choose from. And then really you can't go wrong. The only mistake that you can make in that moment is not choosing. Choose one, make the decision, move on to the next thing. Get to selling as quickly as possible. Get data going in the system. Figure out how to use it. There is no way to pick the perfect agency management system. It does not exist. If I've learned anything in my time so far, it's that the perfect agency management system does not exist. It doesn't exist, but you can find one that serves your company, allows you to grow, to be the business that you want to be, and you'll morph it into what makes you most successful. And I think working through this construct that I outlined here, the order, I think the first part, balancing now versus 10 years from now, is very important to do that thought exercise up front. How you value the other aspects of making that decision is going to be specific to you. The order, I think, is not necessarily as important in kind of working through them and boiling down that list. And then ultimately, guys, make a decision, move on. That's where I'm at in this entire situation. Is in the next week or two, I will make this decision and then just move forward. Like, I'm within 14 days of making this decision and getting after it, because it's go time for Rogue Risk. Like, got through a lot of my paperwork stuff. Hopefully I'll have a couple appointments or an appointment in the next week or two. If not, I'm just gonna pick a wholesaler and start freaking going, because I'm kind of I get that there's steps in this process, but I'm sick of waiting. It's decision time. I'm ready to rock and roll. Thank you for being part of the Inside. This community has already helped me tremendously. I hope it's helped you. I've talked to a lot of you on your one-on-ones, and I'm just so glad you're here. All right, let's get after it. Peace!